Maybe the hardest part about change is not the ending, but the in-between, when nothing fits anymore and nothing feels certain. Today, I want to talk about that space. So if that's where you're at, this episode is for you. Keep listening. Welcome to Higher Self Mastery, the podcast for women ready to leave behind who they were told to be and remember who they truly are. I'm your host, Dami Schumacher. This is your space to come home to yourself, to honor the inner pull for more truth and more depth, and more meaning as you enter a new chapter of your life. Together, we're reframing midlife crisis into the midlife magic that it actually is, because this is your rebirth. Through soulful conversations and spiritual tools, you'll reconnect to your truth and reclaim your voice and live the life that your soul came here for. So let's begin. We do not get taught how to be in this space without panicking or trying to fix it. But often it is the chapter in a woman's life that will bring even the strongest woman down to her knees. Let's talk about why it is so difficult to navigate this space, this void, this transition that we all experience once we hit this mid-age, whether that begins at 35 or 55 for you, or anything in between. At some point, it is inevitable, and most of you tuning in are in the midst of this. And it's not easy. And it can be quite harsh and quite grueling for so many different reasons. But what I want to achieve at the end of this episode is to show you that it doesn't need to be that way, not all of the time, at least anyway, and offer you some alternative suggestions as to how you might shift your perspective and go about doing life as you navigate this space and this void. I am, of course, talking about this midlife era as we women move through the maiden and the motherhood era and archetype and into the mage and into the crone archetype. Irrespective of whether you've biologically birthed children or not, these are phases that your body will move through, that your soul will move through, that your mind will move through. It's all part of that evolution. And during this time, because there is so much changing chemically inside your body, hormonally inside of your body, energetically within you, it is perhaps one of the biggest shifts that we experience in our life. For sure, there are other big shifts that we have navigated and traversed before as well. But because of the lived experience that we have, and because of how long we have been on this planet, and because of everything that we've built around us, and also because there's this societal narrative that we buy into, that stability is a part of successful adulthood, that when this change then comes in during the age of anything between 35, 40 to 50, 55, that it throws us off course completely, and we're not equipped with the right tools or the right education or the right perspective, and to really navigate it with love and navigate it with courage and navigate it with grace. And it absolutely can be done in that way. And it's a massive shift in a woman's life when we go through this shedding of our old self, our old identity, and as we go into that cocoon in the chrysalis and rebirth ourselves as the new us. Now, just like the butterfly, just like the caterpillar that then goes into the chrysalis and then becomes the butterfly, while it's in that cocoon, while it's in the chrysalis phase, it doesn't necessarily have the intelligence or the understanding or the know-how of where it is going and how it's going to end up, how things are going to turn out for itself. And it's very much the same for us, in that we are in this phase at the moment where it is so uncertain. There are so many gaps. There are so many question marks. The rug is constantly being pulled from under our feet in different areas of our life. It could be that you are experiencing the empty nest syndrome. Your children have grown and now they have left home, and it has left this physical void in your life, a void in your responsibilities and how you spend your time and where you pour your energy. It could simply be the different phases of your children growing up as well, where maybe they're still at home, but they don't need you in quite the way that they once needed you. And that leaves you feeling lost and uncertain about who you are and where you belong and where you feel you contribute. It could be that with this upheaval, this shift in your energy, you've realized that the career that you have had for the last 20 or 30 years is something you no longer want to do. And you're looking at something else that better aligns for you now, the person that you're growing into. It could be that a long-term relationship is something that comes to an end, whether that be a partnership or a marriage or even a friendship, something you decide and are able to see that you need to walk away from. And this is so common during this phase. The number of divorces alone and the separations recorded statistically that are instigated by women when they are at this age is at the highest for women during the lifespan. And it's no wonder why this is, because we get to a place in our life where we're starting to feel so many changes internally, which are then reflected externally, right? And it could be like with the children and things like that, that's coming and is driven from the external world, right? But a lot of it, the shift is happening from within us. And this can feel so uprooting and can leave you feeling completely lost and untethered, because we often associate our identity with things that are on the external, whether it's our external appearance or whether it's the external environment that we are a part of, rather than the intrinsic qualities that we hold. It could be that you have always identified very strongly as being a mother. You have perhaps always identified very strongly as being a wife. You have identified very strongly as being the consultant, the accountant, the physiotherapist. You have strongly identified your whole life as being the person who has always had a very slim size 10 body or beautiful clear skin. Now, when these things begin to change, which inevitably at some point they are going to change, these are external factors that we have no say over really, or little say over it. It can be quite jarring for us. It can make us question who we actually are, because we attach our identity to it. And this is perfectly normal. Most of us go through life doing this. But I hope that you are now beginning in this phase, in this area, beginning to question and ask yourself, what are those intrinsic qualities that really, truly describe who you are, who you are at your core, at your essence, your true identity. And it's this ending of one phase or chapter of your life that you've always known and may have known for decades, coming to an end in whatever ways, for whether it's in a small way or in a big way. It could be all areas of your life that are getting blown out of the water, right? Or it could just be small areas of your life. And that's going to be very dependent on how aligned your living has been up to this point. It is not a right or wrong. It doesn't matter what is showing up for you. The good news is that there is this recalibration occurring at the moment. But before we step into the next identity, the next role, the next phase of our life, we're in this in-between space where the ego really wants answers so it can feel safe and feel in control. But the reality is there often aren't any answers that truly serve you. There isn't a direction necessarily. There isn't an absolute. There isn't a, this is how it's going to end up. This is what it's going to look like. This is what you need to do. Because this is a time, this is a phase in your life where you are ripe for returning home, doing the work to shed all that really doesn't belong to you, all the dust and all the layers that you have collected along the route throughout your life up to this point that really don't fit you, that really don't belong to you or no longer belong to you. And it's a period and an opportunity and a gift where we get to let go and drop them away and shed them and be rid of them and lighten our load. But of course, as we do this, it's so ungrounding because our nervous system doesn't like uncertainty. It triggers the amygdala into the fear because prediction is what makes us feel safe. Familiarity makes us feel safe. Even when that prediction and the familiarity is not taking us in the right direction. So don't mistake that comfort and familiar feeling as being the right way to move. And this is amplified because you're no longer this old version of yourself, but yet you're not quite the new version of yourself either. So where exactly are you? You're just in this void. You're in limbo. You're not where you once were, and you're not quite where you're going. But actually, there is beauty in this. There is magic in this. There is a gift in this space. If you can learn to be in it with trust and in a way that is adventurous and in a way in which you can feel like you can really explore things. Because where it gets difficult is when we begin to overanalyze, overthink it, when we get into our head. What am I doing next? I can't leave this career until I know exactly what I'm doing next. But what if I do that and it doesn't work out? What if? There aren't going to be answers for this. I almost guarantee it, there aren't going to be any answers for this. Not until you've done the transition, not until you start navigating and riding this journey. I want to know exactly what the end goal is, what it's going to look like, what it's going to turn out like. What if I leave this partner? Will I ever find another partner? Will I be lonely? Will I end up walking through life on my own and being miserable? Will I find somebody else? There aren't going to be any answers to these. No matter how hard you tried to think your way to those solutions, those answers, it is not a time for trying to figure things out with absolutes. It's not a puzzle to be solved. It is not a problem to be solved. We also can get caught up in comparing ourselves with where other people are. That's never going to serve you, because you don't know the turmoil that that other woman might be going through internally. You don't know what sacrifices or compromises she might be making to live the life that you're seeing on the outside. You don't know how out of alignment she might be. Or maybe she is so beautifully aligned and living her best life, but you know what? That's her journey. Karmically, she may have come in a very different place. Or maybe she's just done a shitload of work on herself. And she just started this 20 years before you. It can also get more tricky and difficult when we don't talk about this, when we act like everything's okay, like your world isn't falling apart, and you just pretend to carry on, still clinging to that old identity, still clinging to that old life, but it actually doesn't exist anymore. That's really dangerous. And we make it also more difficult for ourselves when we see this uncertain path, this breaking down of this old version of ourselves and not knowing where we're going next, as some form of failure. Like we're broken, like we're messed up, like we are weak, like we have done something wrong. But this is not the case. Pausing is not the problem. This void, this space, that is not the problem. The goal here is not to get from your old being, your old life, to the new version of yourself as quickly as you can. It is not. And I think so many of us, I so wish I had been given this bit of advice myself a few years ago. Because when I found myself in this position, that's exactly what I tried to do. It's like, okay, this doesn't work anymore. This is all fallen apart. And finally sort of accepted reluctantly in some areas of my life, accepted that those are versions of myself that no longer exist. But then immediately it was like, okay, so then who am I then? What am I? What do I do? And I had to go from A to B. I had to know what the next was. And I learned the long way, the hard way, the slow way, that this space in between from the old and to the new is not a problem. It's not a gap to be closed as quickly as possible. The issue is when we allow fear to start running the show while we are in this phase. And there is a difference between cocooning and going quiet and being within ourselves, going inside ourselves to remember who we are, to reconnect with our truth, to reconnect with new versions of ourselves, or original versions of ourselves that maybe we've just never seen before, and abandoning ourselves. There is a difference. There is a difference between resting and completely disappearing. And that's another danger. I don't think many of you tuning in are in this category, but maybe you have been, and maybe some of you are. And that's this category of denial that you are changing. I talked about this clinging and holding on. I think that's inevitable. Doesn't matter who you are. Some areas of your life, you're going to try and hold on, even if it's just briefly. You're going to try and hold on to an aspect of your life, especially if it's an aspect of your life that you've either had for such a long time or you still enjoy and still want and don't want to let go of. But some women will be in complete denial that they are shifting and changing, and will desperately be trying to keep it all together as if nothing is changing and nothing is happening. It's all okay. It's all okay. That is the greatest disservice you can do for yourself. That is abandonment. That is giving up on who you really are. And if that's where you are, this is not me shaming you. This is just me reaching out my hand and saying, it's okay. This space that you're so afraid to step into, it's okay. We all go through it. All of your sisters go through it. And better still, once you accept that that's where you're at, that's the period, that's the phase that you're in, it's actually not as bad as you think it's going to be. Even if it might feel like it for a time, there is light at the end of the tunnel. And there are ways to navigate this void, this chrysalis phase of this midlife era that is so nourishing for our souls, so expansive. And this is what my suggestion is for you. And this is the suggestions and the guidance I wish I had a few years ago. And that is one, stay connected to yourself. And by that I mean, don't try to be a version of yourself that you no longer are. If your body is changing, if your moods are changing, if your mind is changing, if your life externally is changing, accept that and be connected to yourself in how you feel about it. All of the emotions. Allow them to be. Do not deny any of them. Because it is a very challenging and can be a very turbulent time. By no means is it easy. By no means is it easy. So allow all the emotions to come up. The grief, the loss, the sadness, the rage, the anger, the tears, the joy, the excitement, the anxiety, the apprehension, the stress. Allow them all to come up and flow. Stay connected to yourself. Take one step at a time. Just one step at a time. I love a good vision. And I'm not saying don't have a vision, don't have a goal, if that's something that works for you, but hold it with an open hand. Be ready for that to change and evolve and grow every 6 months or even more as you change and grow and evolve and become better connected to this new version of yourself. So just take one step at a time. Experiment instead of trying to demand for certainty, because it will never come. Experiment. Have fun. Enjoy this uncertain period. Do things that you've never done before just because you can. And believe me, you can. You are a fully grown woman. You do not answer to anybody. You should hopefully also be, I pray and hope, at a phase in your life where you just don't give a shit anymore what anyone thinks. So please, all the things where you've held inhibitions before, drop them, lose them, go and just do the things you've never done before. Have fun, experiment, play. And let clarity come with movement, because often it's the only way that it will come. You will not get to know this new version of yourself better and what really truly fits for you until you try things on for size. It's much like when you go out shopping for clothes. You can like a dress on the hanger, but until you put it on and put it on your body and feel it and see how you feel wearing that dress, you won't know if it's for you. You may love it on the hanger and put it on and go, ugh, I don't like that fabric, or the cut's not right for me. Not this one. This isn't for me. Or you might put it on and it just slips on like a glove and you're like, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? And that's true for all different things in life. So gain the clarity through movement, through trying things. And stay open. Stay open to new people, new ideas, new rooms, invitations. Stay open. Do not expect yourself to rebuild a whole life overnight. It has taken you the best part of 30 years, 40 years to shape yourself and get to the place that you have found yourself until a few years ago or up until recently. So don't expect to reform yourself and create a new version of yourself overnight when it's taken about 3 or 4 decades to get to the previous version of yourself. It's not going to happen. And you don't need the whole map. You just need the next step that is truly aligned for you. Don't try to have all the answers. Just stay in the relationship with yourself as honestly as you can, and the answers will come. The answers will form. I was speaking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was so proud of her. Just listening to how she's navigating this. Now, I know she tunes into this podcast, so I hope she doesn't mind me sharing her example. But it was through our conversation that we had that I felt inspired to do this episode, because I listened to what she's doing and she's having so much fun experimenting and trying, figuring things out. And she goes, I don't know what I'm doing. 1 minute I'm here and next minute I'm there, and then I'm interested in this and then I'm interested in that. And I was just like, good, because you don't need to commit to anything at all at the moment. At the moment, you're just trying on lots of different things for size to see what fits, what feels good. And she's fully out there. She goes out to all these beautiful events and retreats and festivals. She's finding her new tribe. She's finding new people that match the new version of who she's becoming. She's just doing all the things, like all the things. And pouring herself into this journey of rediscovering herself. And I could not be more proud of her. And she is such a fantastic example of how to navigate this transition. She's just putting herself out there, saying yes to life, saying yes to the experience, saying yes to the journey, to all of it, not knowing where it's going to end up. But that doesn't mean it's easy. We didn't talk about this, but I know, and I could see it in her eyes, it's not been easy, and nor is it still easy. I'm sure there are times where she's been brought to her knees. I'm sure there have been times where she has sat and sobbed in silence on her own and thought, how do I ever get out of this? Just like I know I have, just like I know probably you have. Didn't say this period of transition, this space, this void is easy. It will take you to some deep, dark places within yourself. But it can also take you to some of the most beautiful, new, brightly colorful, rainbow-lit, expansive places of yourself too, if you allow it to. And the reason I wanted to talk about this and bring this topic to the forefront is because I know so many women will be struggling to navigate this period, this phase. And if you've got caught up in the heavy energy, if you've got caught up in the grief, the exhaustion, and protecting yourself, in the loneliness, in the isolation, there's no judgment here. We've all been there too. But what I am saying is that there is another way. What I am saying is don't stay there too long. What I am saying is go out there and carry on living. See this as a wonderful, beautiful new opportunity to start life all over again. With fresh eyes, with youthful, innocent energy, with curiosity, with all of the emotions that come. So I'm going to leave you with a few little questions just to mull over. If there is one small step that you can take today to support this transition, what would that be? Something that makes you expansive, that takes you out of your isolation, that takes you out of your loneliness, the grief and the pain. Because this void is not empty space, it's fertile ground where you get to sow new seeds for the person that you want to become. This is just a new chapter in your story. The heroine has been killed off, so to speak, in the last chapter. And it might feel really sad and it might be very painful. But that's just left space for a new heroine to emerge. Because there always is a heroine. And in your life, in your story, you are that heroine. Always. Allow the old identity to dissolve so something truer can emerge. This period is fertile. This period is potent and alive. Embrace it. Embrace the journey. And if you only remember one thing, let it be this. This in-between phase is not proof that life is stalled. It is simply where you get to gather yourself, your ideas for how that next chapter is going to look. And yes, you may fall to your knees sometimes. The strongest of us do. And that's okay, because you will pick yourself back up. So where have you been withdrawing in areas of your life that no longer support you? What one gentle step could you take now to move a little bit closer. Where deep inside of yourself are you being asked to trust yourself and trust the process and allow things to fall away and dissolve? As always, share this with a woman that you know who is also transitioning this era, who you think will benefit from hearing these words. I am always here and always in full support of your journey, so never hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of High Self-Mastery. If something landed, moved you, or sparked a shift, I'd love to hear from you. Be sure to follow, subscribe, and share this episode with a woman in your life that is also ready to rise. And if you found value in today's conversation, please take a moment to rate and review this podcast, especially in these early days. It really helps others to find this work too. If you're craving deeper support and sisterhood, join my mailing list using the link below, where you'll be the first to receive free meditations, learn about up-and-coming retreats, and other ways that we can work together. Until next time, honor your truth and trust in the timing of your becoming.